I always stand by the fact that we're here to enhance your natural beauty. And we're not here to change your entire face because it's unethical, and B, it's impossible. So I always say to my clients, especially when they complain about like aging and stuff, is you can't stop the clock, and you just have to embrace it instead. Welcome to Glow Local, a podcast that celebrates community, entrepreneurs, and businesses around the area. Hello, listeners. Welcome back to the Glow Local podcast. Today, I'm sitting down with a very special guest who is not only part of our Long Island Esthetics family, but is also an entrepreneur herself. Today, I'm sitting down with Jamie Cerverizzo, who is not only our salon manager, but she also does bridal makeup on the weekends. Today, I'm going to be talking to Jamie about all things skincare and makeup, because who else would know the skin as well as a makeup artist and better an esthetician from the inside out? So, Jamie, how long have you been doing makeup?
Oh, okay. So I've been doing makeup since I am about 19 years old.
How long is that?
So if I do the math, it's a very long time. So I'm 34, so about 20, no, 14 years.
25 years. You know, she started when she was a baby.
I'm a makeup artist, not a mathematician. So I started when I was 19. So yeah, about 15 years.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
How long have you been an esthetician?
I've been an esthetician. I got my aesthetics license when I was 21.
Okay.
So
So aesthetics and makeup, you've been doing them both for a long time.
Mhm.
How long have you been with Long Island Esthetics?
I'm rounding 2 years.
I think it's longer than that.
Is it longer?
Maybe like 3. I think you're right, rounding 2 years, around 2, 3 years. Okay, awesome. So I obviously like to spotlight businesses, and outside of this business, you are your own business owner. Tell us about your business.
It is what it is. I'm the bridal makeup artist. I got my start in a salon when I was like 19 years old. And I was actually doing reception. And yeah, the owner of the salon said, "What do you want to do with your life?" You know, the age-old question for a 19-year-old. You know, what do I want to do with my life? And I said, I really am into makeup. They're like, okay, so go for it. And they took me to the International Beauty Show at the Javits Center, that big, beauty show that we all go to every year. And I was just like, whoa,
Heaven.
like, this is what I want to do.
Mhm.
So I started playing around with makeup. I've always been very artistic. I went to college for art. Art has always been a big, thing in my life. It's always been my passion. Very creative, and a lot of different aspects. I just started getting into it and working at the salon, and they would throw me some clients here and there. And then the woman that was doing the makeup at the salon said, "Well, you can come work for me, but you need a license." And I was like, I don't know if I really want to do hair. So lo and behold, I went to aesthetic school and I started, working my way up, and I got my license. And yeah, the rest is kind of history. Just over time, just started doing a lot of different clients. And I actually got my start doing mature women, we should say. Yeah, so the clientele at the salon that I was working at was more of an older clientele. So I actually learned how to do makeup on older skin, which is actually a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
Because, you lift the eye up and then, you put it down and everything that you did just suddenly disappears.
Yeah.
So that was the clientele that I learned how to do makeup on, which actually I think in the long run made me a better makeup artist, because I had to understand a skin that was so much more compromised than, a young, prom girl.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, that's why I kind of like, and skin at that age is different. So that's when I started applying my, knowledge of aesthetics, and I start being able to tie the two together. And I think in the long run, it's made me a better makeup artist because I understand the skin, I understand ingredients, I understand how certain products work on different types of skin.
Right.
And then a chatterbox. I'm a people person, and I think throughout the years of working, I never burned my bridges with anybody that I came across. I took everybody's contact, and yeah, I just kept putting my work out there. Every time I worked with another artist, I got their information, I got their business
Right.
card. Then social media blew up, and I started getting people's Instagrams and their Facebooks, and I started working in different salons, and
Mhm.
just word of mouth. And I mean, before I knew it,
You're booking out
15
every weekend.
15 years later, I'm like, oh my God, like I can't believe, how far I come.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Big, big, big,
it
big achievement.
feels like it happened overnight, but
Yeah.
obviously it didn't.
As we
But it's
know.
like you wake up and you're like, oh my God, like I can't believe I'm like, so far into this industry, and
Right.
so
And
experienced and
yeah.
everything.
And you're busy.
I'm busy.
You're busy
Yeah,
because
thankfully.
yeah, you're busy. And I know that because you don't work here on weekends, which I love that we're able to accommodate your other, not your other job, like your business. That's your business. And I guess being a business owner myself, like I get that and I respect that. And so it makes it so much easier for me to be like, yeah, sure, you can have off on weekends if it means building this business that means so much to you outside of here, because I wish that I had jobs in the past that like respected that about me, that I wanted to build a business, because I did. I worked 3 jobs when I first opened my first business. And it was mainly just to fund my business. But the flexibility was not always there with my other jobs. And so that was always really hard for me, was, having to run my business around their schedules. And so I'm super mindful of that, and that's why I love what you're doing, because it reminds me of what I did in the beginning. You worked your other jobs, and also too, I think a lot of makeup artists work other jobs, mostly not because you're not making enough money doing makeup, but because what else are you doing during the week, right? Like, and this complements what
Yeah.
you're doing on the weekends because of everything that goes into skincare and makeup prep. So that leads me into my next question. So, um, what makes a licensed esthetician makeup artist stand out from just a certified makeup artist who has no other licensing?
That's a good question. So, like I touched on earlier, you have a better understanding of the skin, and particularly like ingredients and how certain makeup works on certain skin, and also being able to distinguish what type of skin your client has. Because makeup's not universal,
Right.
unfortunately. A foundation that I use on you may not be a foundation that I use on my next client.
Yeah.
So understanding, having that general knowledge of skin and how things react, and then also sensitivities. A big thing when I notice that I do it a lot, but I notice when I sometimes work with other artists, they don't always start their client the same way, which is, that's just how other makeup artists work. But I always, first thing I ask is, what's your skin like? Do you have any allergies or sensitivities that I should know about? And that's really big when somebody sits in your chair. And then and then know how to work with what they say back. So before I got my license as an esthetician, and I was starting out in the makeup world, like I didn't really have that knowledge behind me of, what makeup is compatible with other things. And I felt like it actually gave me a disservice as a makeup artist, because I, didn't always understand what I was putting on someone's skin cosmetically. And then once I got my aesthetics license and I started, really understanding, ingredients and skin types and skin conditions, I was able to service my clients better and give them a better end result.
Right.
Because I understood, the complexity of what I was doing.
Right, right, right. Okay. So, I mean, I feel like that brings up a really valid point, which is that not only seeking out an experienced makeup artist for your big events, but seeking out a licensed artist for your big events can be a game changer, because frankly, it's so easy to find a makeup artist these days. We know that, right? They're a dime a dozen. But what makes you stand out? Well, you're a licensed esthetician of what, 12 years at this point, maybe longer. You have all of that experience under your belt as a makeup artist, but as a skincare expert as well. And that is, I don't know. I mean, I'm not letting anybody do my makeup if they don't know skincare, because frankly, I have very acne prone skin. I have very sensitized skin. So if they are putting stuff on my face that they don't know can potentially be, contradicting to my skin conditions, they may send me home and I may become one big breakout. And that's simply because they just don't know that, hey, if I put this on her skin, she could break out. So talk to me about ingredients. Are there any specific ingredients that you can tell people at home to stay away from in their makeup products if they have certain skin conditions such as acne or rosacea or dry skin? Like, what kinds of ingredients are you mindful of that you can tell people to be mindful of at home?
Okay. So basically, I mean, Skin cosmetics has actually come a very long way, with tying in skincare into, their cosmetics. There's actually, Lady Gaga's House Labs. She's actually been very skincare mindful of her makeup line. Um, the big one I say is people to stay away from is talc. I mean, I think, some level of carcinogen, keep that away from your skin. There's another one, hydroquinone. A lot of people can have an adverse reaction to anything with hydroquinone in it.
Mineral-based products for acne people.
Yeah. I mean, the based stuff is good for, I think, more of a mature skin type.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, you want to stay away from any oil based products if you have a very, acne prone skin. If you are very oily, stay away from oil based products. If you have very sensitive skin, you want to maybe go towards more of like the water based products, stuff that's not going to lay super heavy on your skin, stuff that's not going to seep into your pores and, cause all these like crazy reactions.
Clog them up.
Yeah, clog them up. And also, I mean, it's kind of, event makeup kind of stands out different from, your everyday makeup.
Mhm.
A lot of times when I am doing bridal, people, they get nervous with like certain products. For the most part, if something's on your skin, unless you have like a crazy allergy to something,
Mhm.
for the most part, when you do event makeup, um, it's a few hours they
Mhm.
have this makeup on, and then you go home and you take it off.
Mhm.
But for something that's more everyday, that's something that I think you as a person should have a sit down consultation with an esthetician, makeup artist combo, and then you can find out which makeup will work for your skin every day. Because if you're putting something on your skin every day, you're probably going to have a more long term reaction
Mhm.
than if you just have something on your skin for, a few hours.
That's
Unless,
right. Right.
there is always the contrary. You have, a really crazy skin condition,
Right.
allergy.
Mhm. I mean, I can vouch for that statement because prior to using the right foundation for my skin type, I was constantly breaking out and I didn't really fully understand why because I was doing such a very regimented skincare routine that was made for my skin type. And obviously, I know skin, obviously, I know acne, and obviously, I know what products work well with my skin. So being a professional and still seeing breakouts, there was like this missing element that I'm kind of like, what am I doing that's making me break out so bad? And there were a couple of things, but number one was the foundation I was using. I took a really deep dive into the foundation I was using and realized very quickly that it was actually causing my breakouts to get worse. And so, actually, funny enough, you had introduced me to the Revisage brand. And then I had switched over to the Revisage foundation back in March. So it's almost been a year now. And when I tell you, just switching to Revisage, that single-handedly cut my breakouts in half because I was wearing my other foundation daily, and it was a lighter foundation, it was more of like a CC cream, but it didn't matter. The ingredients in that product were breaking me out, and then when I switched to the mineral-based Reposage foundation, I suddenly noticed like a major change in my skin. So you're right, like a day-to-day foundation or a day-to-day CC or a tinted, sun whatever, like these products matter because they're what's going on in your skin every single day. Like we all know if you've ever had event makeup done that, they're we're caking the makeup on. It's made to last. It's made to look good, right? So like we're caking these products on. The likelihood of an acneic person breaking out after a full day of event makeup is pretty good. I mean, because there's really no way to put a full face of makeup on somebody effectively and, expect it to not potentially clog a pore and give you some breakouts. So I think that anybody, can vouch for the fact that, that's just kind of what it is. Now, I do know that in the world of makeup, there are certain products that are better for certain ages, right? So, for example, if you have more mature skin that tends to be a little bit more wrinkled or, a little bit less elastic, maybe dehydrated skin, we want to stay away from certain products. Usually, is it powder products or is it cream products?
So actually, there's a little bit of like stipulations with that.
Okay.
So it's if you people when they have this misconception, especially now
Hmm.
because we live in the world of social media and filters and AI. People so often feel that when no matter how old they are, they're 13 if they're 83,
Hmm.
that when they put makeup on, it's going to seep in. Well, yes, your face has lines and creases and stuff, and it's not, we're not putting a silicone mask over your face. You're
Hmm.
going to see that
Right.
stuff. So when you're doing a more mature skin type, you do have to take into account those types of products that you're putting on the skin.
Yeah, for
If
sure.
you put on anything loose, we try to stay away from loose powders when you're doing mature skin, because if you put a cream on and then you put that loose over it, basically what you're making is like, a mud pot,
Right.
and that's going to show the lines, more in depth. That's
Hmm.
what's going to really draw focus to that. So with that stuff, you're always mixing creams and powders when you're doing makeup. You're always layering. With more mature skin, you want to use a pressed powder because it's not going to grab onto that cream so heavily.
Oh,
So it's
interesting.
going to give them more of that smooth, flawless type of finish.
Interesting.
A lot of times, more mature women too, they don't wear, a lot of makeup
Right.
every day. I mean, most women, in this day and age, don't wear a lot of a full face of makeup every day.
Right.
So when they do get event makeup on, they're like, oh my God, I see my lines, I see my wrinkles. Well, yeah, because you have something on your face now that you're not used to seeing every
Hmm.
day.
Hmm.
But if you do, the best application that you know how, and you understand how certain products work with other products, and you layer, and you do light layer applications, usually
Okay.
it doesn't look
Yeah.
as bad.
I mean, we're not magicians, right? Even in the
Right.
skincare world as estheticians, we're not magicians. I always stand by the fact that we're here to enhance your natural beauty. We're not here to change your entire face, because it's unethical, and B, it's impossible. So I always say to my clients, especially when they complain about like aging and stuff, is you can't stop the clock, and you just have to embrace it instead. Embrace the fact that, you're aging. Embrace the fact that you have these fine lines now that maybe you didn't have 15, 20 years ago, because in my opinion, they stand for something much bigger than just a wrinkle on your face. And why society has completely stigmatized wrinkles is beyond me, because everybody gets them. Like, you can't not wrinkle as you age. I don't care.
Can't defy the laws
You
of physics.
can't defy it. Like, it's not possible. So, I do understand, as I'm, starting to get to a point in my life where I am noticing more fine lines and wrinkles, especially after pregnancy. Is like, I've noticed that my skin has changed tremendously. Yeah, of course I look in the mirror sometimes, especially after putting my makeup on, and I'm like, oh, I may have just enhanced those forehead wrinkles. Like, it's not the best feeling, but it's a matter of how you look at it and the matter of how you embrace it too, right? So, like, I think that instead of trying to, like you said, kind of defy the laws, of our skin anatomy, instead we have to start empowering women to rock their aging skin. Like, instead of packing on foundation with the hopes to hide it and instead making it stand out, sometimes maybe we can just tell them, put a tinted moisturizer on, right? Like, why not? I love tinted moisturizers. I'm a big fan. I use it every day. So now with event makeup, do you ever run into situations where you have women that are afraid of you putting makeup on their skin with the fear that it may make certain features stand out more? Or
All the time.
yeah, and so what do
All
you
the
usually
time.
do?
To be honest with you, what I do has nothing to do with skincare. It has nothing to do with makeup. It's all about my attitude and my approach
I love
and
that.
how I speak to them and how I make them feel when they're in my chair.
Mhm.
Because let's face it, like a lot of times when, especially the older women, when they sit in my chair for event makeup,
Mhm.
I get the main comments is, "Oh, I've never had my makeup done."
Mhm.
Or I've only had my makeup done like one time.
Mhm.
Or, when I got married up, we didn't get our makeup done. And that you get all those, you get
Right.
those main comments and you're like, okay,
Mhm.
and you kind of just have to empower them a little
Yeah,
bit
exactly.
and say, you know what, like you're beautiful and this is gonna just enhance, what's already there. And when you see the photos, you're gonna, I understand like when you're looking at a
Yeah.
pairing, you're so up close, it's gonna
See
look a
everything.
little shocking and you're not used to wearing this. So, and then once like some of the bridesmaids or, the bride walks around and sees, her mother or her grandmother, her future mother-in-law, she's like, oh my God, you look so beautiful. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like a
It's,
for them.
they're like, okay, okay. And then I always tell people, let it sit,
Yeah.
let it sit. Makeup tends to oxidize as it sits. Let it sit. Don't sit there and stare at yourself in the mirror the whole time. Let it sit. Let yourself just kind of like get used to it for a minute. And then I promise you,
Mhm. Right.
you'll like it,
Yeah, like, don't be
And then
afraid
I
of
always
makeup.
tell people too, I
Mhm.
said, and if there's something absolutely that you want me to change, I'll change it.
Mhm.
And I always tell my clients, don't be afraid to speak up
Mhm.
about anything because you have to wear it.
Yeah.
I don't,
Right.
you know?
Mhm.
Um, It's taken me a long time to get to that
Right.
that point,
Right.
with
Right.
being confident enough to be able to accept that criticism,
Mhm.
but I'm confident enough in my skills and my abilities that most of the time after someone sees themselves and they're a little shocked at first, give them a few minutes and they come back around. At
Okay.
the end of your session,
Yeah.
I actually do like it.
Usually, it's just a matter
I'm
of
just
it's a
not
change.
used to it. I'm
Exactly.
just not used to it.
Right, right. It's like when you change your hair color, right? Like I've gone from dark to light so many times, and it's like the minute I look in the mirror, I always feel the exact same way. I'm like, do I like this? And it's usually at first, it's like, no, I don't, to be honest. And it's not because I don't like it; it's because I'm not used to it. And we're creatures of habit, and we like to feel comfortable in what we know and what we're used to. So I think that anytime somebody does makeup or has makeup done like dramatically like that for the first time, or maybe first time in a long time, it's almost like a shock factor at first. Like,
Mhm.
wait, do I like this? Am I like, do I look myself? Right. So I can understand that. I think that we also, and this might just be coming from like the esthetician in me, and I'm not a makeup artist, but I also think that we really should start empowering people to embrace what makes them feel comfortable instead of trying to force them to be comfortable with things that maybe they're not comfortable with. So, like I would be the makeup artist that like goes to like, a wedding party to do their makeup. And someone says to me, like, can we just do tinted moisturizer or tinted SPF, like I'm gonna be the makeup artist that's like, yeah, absolutely. Like we don't need to put foundation on you if that's not what makes you feel comfortable. Would that be something that you would be comfortable doing if someone told you they didn't want foundation? Or would you
Um,
encourage them to do the
I
foundation?
encourage them to do the
You do?
foundation.
Okay.
Yeah,
See, I don't know
because
anything.
I I say, listen, like you're gonna be photographed, and
Yeah.
like I said, this is event makeup. This
Mhm.
isn't walking down the street to go get your groceries
Mhm.
makeup. This is stuff that needs to read well on camera.
Mhm.
This is stuff that needs to be look nice under lights
Mhm.
and stand the test of sweat and dancing and hugs and kisses and people rubbing up against you and stuff like that. So if somebody just wants a tinted moisturizer, I tell them, listen, you're not going to be happy when you see those photos. You're going to look shiny, you're going to just kind of you're going to not not look presentable.
Okay, so it's really a lot of this is like a lot of what you do is based around the idea of ensuring that these people photograph well. Makeup is big for mostly for photography reasons at events, not so much for just having makeup done for the sake of looking good for everybody else, because the photographs, they're gonna look back at those forever.
Right.
I respect that.
And I also tell like a lot of people too is, if they get their makeup done professionally and
Hmm.
they look and they see that, it's flaking or it looks cakey or it's, really settling into their lines or whatever. What was your skincare like leading up to
Yeah.
that?
Right.
If you just woke up that morning and washed your face with soap and water.
The bar soap.
I keep, I have a small artillery of, skincare products that I prep all of my clients with. But I mean, we know it in this world, you can do as much as you want in that room, but the second they walk out the door, if they don't follow it, in a couple of days, their skin's going to go right back to where it was, when they first walked in. So your skincare leading up to your event makeup plays a big factor in how your makeup looks that day.
A major factor. You cannot, I saw a thing the other day online that actually I wish I could pull up right this minute, because it was literally the perfect depiction of what it looks like to apply makeup to skin that hasn't been cared for. And it was a painter. He was just painting like a windowsill, and it wasn't sanded, it wasn't primed, it wasn't ready for paint. He was just like literally painting over all like the nooks and the crannies and like the flaws of like the windowsill. And it was like, this is what your makeup will go like, well, this is how your makeup will apply if you don't prep your skin properly. And I was like, facts. Like that is, it's like literally painting a wall without like prepping the wall first. And so it's so true, because if you're not going to take care of your skin, why are you going to put makeup on it? Then it's just really going to make the flaws stand out. So that leads me into the next segment of this. I really want to talk about skincare and how we can incorporate skincare into makeup preparation, not just for events, but for day to day. So as an esthetician, this is where, your job here comes into play, right? So you constantly do facials here. It's one of your primary services. Talk to me about what some of your favorite pre-makeup, pre-event makeup services are as a service provider. What types of services can you encourage your clients to come here to get done before they see you for makeup?
Number one, dermaplaning.
Yeah.
Dermaplaning, dermaplaning, dermaplaning. I mean, that is going to give you, in my opinion, the smoothest application as far as texture. You're going to remove some of that peach fuzz. You're going to remove any, dead skin that's laying on the surface that could cause, that could get the impression of a texturized look when you
Right.
get your makeup done.
Right.
And then combined with dermaplaning, just incorporating, products that are super hydrating for the skin, anything that's, anti-inflammatory as well, that you want to decrease any of that puffiness. Doing a lymphatic drainage massage, in combination too with a dermaplaning.
Some sculpting.
Right.
Yeah.
Getting all of that lymph and everything moving through, and flushed out, so you're not, you don't have that puffy look.
Yeah,
When
100%.
before you're leading up to. Anything that's, cooling, if you have, skin that tends to be on the more sensitive side, or you have, rosacea or anything like that.
Okay.
I love our ice globes, sometimes I even saw some artists, they bring ice globes with them.
I was just gonna say that would probably be fantastic to do right before the application of the makeup.
Yep. I already have 17 bags of stuff that I
Right.
bring with me.
Bring the ice globes too.
But I have seen artists they do bring ice globes with them
Right.
for their application. I think that's a great prep,
Yeah.
But yeah, would say dermaplaning. Obviously, if you're gonna do anything that involves like extractions, might not be the best to do it, in the days leading up to your event, maybe like a week prior to your event, 2 weeks prior to your event, if you want to get a facial with good extractions. Because there's nothing worse than putting on makeup and you just see blackheads all over someone's nose, and
So maybe like a good hydrodermabrasion.
hydrodermabrasion, get all that stuff, sucked out. But don't do that like the days before.
Right. Right.
Make that be like a week or two prior.
Right.
Because just in case you are like, because you can get a little red, it could leave some striations on you and everything like that in the days after. You could get some purging with it as well.
Right.
So you want to just give your skin a little bit of time to, settle before your makeup. But dermaplaning, you could do it 2 days before your event.
Right. 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 Prepping. Let's say you're a bride and you want to prepare for your wedding day. A facial a week before isn't going to cut it. Let's be honest, right? So if you really want to see change in your skin, we know that this has to happen over time. How far out are you suggesting a bride and her bridal party begin their skincare treatments clinically? and at home, but mostly clinically? Like, how far out before that event should they begin seeing you for facials?
So it really depends on their skin condition and their skin type. If I have a bride who's got really bad acne and she's just got horrible skin, oily acne,
Yeah,
red,
like all the
cystic
things.
acne, um, the day she gets engaged, she should be coming in because the longer we can treat you, obviously,
Mhm. Yeah,
the more prolonged and, stuff that, you know, your skin's going to look better leading up.
yeah.
If you have, pretty normal skin type, you're not really prone to breakouts, maybe like the hormonal breakout here or there, pimples here and there. I would say probably 4 months out, do
Okay,
one facial a month leading up to your big day.
okay.
And then, like the week of your wedding,
Mhm,
do a facial,
mhm.
maybe like depending on what we're doing. But if it's just like a basic like dermaplaning facial, 2 to 3 days before your wedding, you can come in and have that done.
Okay.
Or hydrodermabrasion. But yeah, so it really depends on the skin type
Skin type.
and skin condition.
Yeah.
Anything that if you have something that's more aggressive that you're trying to treat,
Mhm.
I mean, could upwards of 6 months to a year,
Yeah.
prior.
You may wanna put them on a peel series, right? We may wanna do a peel series. We may want to begin, a very regimented new at-home care routine with them, which takes a long time to actually show the results that, we want
Right.
for them. Um, Going back to acne, acne is a big thing. A lot of people suffer from acne, and I always focus heavily on acne when it comes to skincare because I had it myself, and I remember just how awful it was for me. Um, you can't get dermaplaned with active acne,
Yeah.
right? So if someone wants to have a dermaplaning facial done before their event and they're covered in active acne, that's a problem. So if you're suffering from acne, you need to start treating that acne way, way, way before your event date if you want your makeup to come on to go on
And
appropriately.
even if you are not a candidate for dermal cleaning, even leading up to your
Mm,
wedding day, if you still have, scarring or you're still suffering from cystic acne here and there,
mhm,
then we would shift and we would just focus on doing stuff that's, more anti-inflammatory and, just having stuff that's soothing
mhm.
and, just trying to just keep whatever is on the surface at bay,
Okay.
just healing whatever we can leading
Mhm,
up.
mhm.
And, makeup is a wonderful thing. It can cover a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
I've had, brides who have had red, inflamed, acneic, on their cheeks, on their forehead,
Mhm,
even on their chest.
mhm.
And a lot of times, those types of clients, they're not worried about their pores getting clogged. They know that their skin
Mhm.
is, it is what it is.
Right.
At that day, they're like, just cover it.
Do whatever you can to
Do
cover it.
whatever you can to cover it.
But wouldn't it be so much wouldn't it be so much because listen, what do we know about acne? We know it's treatable.
Mhm.
We know that it's treatable.
Mhm.
There is no reason that someone shouldn't be able to clear their skin up significantly for their big event if they just take the initiative to reach out for the right help.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, it is treatable.
Yeah.
You're not going to be covered in cystic acne for your whole entire life if you know what's causing it and how to treat it. That's just you're never going to get rid of it 100% if that's your skin type, but it is treatable, it is manageable, and if with the right skincare routine and the right esthetician and maybe even the right dermatologist if we need it, to get to that level, you can get it under control. So, listen, someone who suffered from it, like my advice to anybody who's suffering from acne is that it's treatable. Don't just throw your hands up and say it is what it is, and that I've been suffering from with this for so long. There's nothing to be done. No, there is. You just haven't met the right person. You haven't met the right esthetician. You haven't, like there are ways to treat it, manage it, and reduce it, to make you feel more confident in your skin on your big day. So, just if you are someone who's suffering from acne, I think that it's important to reach out to an esthetician to get the treatment that you need. And then if we can't, for whatever reason, help you, we'll refer you out. We'll refer you to the proper person that we know may be able to help you so that you can feel your best on your big day. So that's really important. Okay, great. So, in terms of prepping the skin, we've kind of established that there's several different facials we can be doing, and different home care treatments that we can be recommending in order to get the best results possible for that event makeup. So, actually, a tip that I want to give people, I'm not a makeup artist, but I am an esthetician, and a makeup artist did this for me once and it was like a game changer. She pulled out an Aquaphor stick before she put like when she was prepping my skin for the makeup. And she was like, yeah, she's like, if you have fine lines and wrinkles around your eyes and your forehead, she's like, you want to put like an occlusive product, almost like an Aquaphor or Vaseline underneath your makeup to help with some of that the caking and the creasing and stuff like that. So ever since she did that, I actually, when I don't have Botox, which again, I don't have right now, I do that before I put my makeup on. So like this morning when I was doing a full face of makeup, I put a little bit of Aquaphor here and I put a little bit in some of my lines, very, very little. Like I actually wipe off like the excess after I'm
Yeah.
done. It's good to do it with the stick. But I only had the bottle. So I did a little bit, and then I even do a little bit of my laugh lines. And then when I am done with that, I put on my tinted SPF, and it's like a moisturizer. And I always use like a really good moisturizer underneath my makeup if I'm doing a full face of makeup. And it's a game changer, literal game changer for aging skin. Like I'm in my 30s now, so my skin is not what it was when I was 18, 19, 20 years old. I accept that. I'm fine with it. But there are workarounds. Listen, at some point you get to an age where you're not getting rid of the wrinkles. They are what they are.
They're there.
But at this stage, women in their 30s and 40s, there's ways, little tips and tricks that you can do to make that makeup settle a little bit, more airbrush look. Do you do airbrush makeup?
I used to, and it's actually become quite the topic of conversation amongst, the makeup artist community.
Yeah.
Do you do airbrush? Do you not do airbrush? Um, I truly feel that it's a great way to do a makeup application. But also foundation has come a long way, and you've improved on your techniques. Hopefully,
Sure.
as you become more seasoned in as being makeup artist. I find that I can get with the right tools and the right prep and the right product that I can get the same finish of an airbrush and
Sure.
that I can do with a regular foundation.
Mhm.
For me, I like I said, not knocking any artists that do airbrush. I mean, if that's the technique that works for you, if that's the product that you like working with, more power to you. Um, I find when I'm doing bridal, I am on a very regimented time schedule.
Yeah.
And airbrushing can be finicky. You're swapping out cartridges, you're cleaning out your machine. You got to hope that your machine doesn't get clogged. And,
Right. Which happens a lot.
it's, and then it's just one more thing you got to
And
carry.
it's like not really worth it.
Right. A lot of people say that, oh, it's sweat proof. It's, once you put it on, it doesn't move, which is true.
But so is good makeup.
But so is good setting spray, and
Yeah.
I like to set the face in increments. So like as I'm applying the makeup, I set it. But I have different setting sprays for different, stages of the application. But I find that, if I'm using the right products, I'm using good application, I'm, applying my technique,
Mhm.
it'll stay just
Okay.
as good as airbrush. And then the other thing with airbrush too is once you put it on, there's no manipulating it.
Right.
So, if you got a little too close in one area, really hard to blend that out.
Yeah.
So once it's
seen
on,
that.
that's it. It's on,
I've seen that.
and there's no moving it.
I have like a little airbrush machine at home, and I used to use it years ago, like all the time. And like just to piggyback off what you said, you were like, makeup has come such a long way. Why are we still messing with airbrush machines for makeup? It's not worth it. I've seen it myself. Like I'm a makeup girl. I like to put makeup on. I'm really good at putting it on myself. Don't love putting it on other people, but I have messed with all types of makeup, from airbrush to the lighter foundations to the full coverage foundations, like you name it, I've messed with it. I love makeup. And I personally feel like foundation is so like there's such a broad spectrum of them, like foundation is there's so many types, and with airbrush, like right? Like, there's not a bunch of types. Like, it's just, you have your formula, you have, right? You put it in and it's that it's customizable.
No,
I don't think.
Temp 2 and
Right. That's the one I have.
Yeah, like there's really not a lot.
Would you say that you feel like from what you've seen, because you work with a lot of makeup artists in the industry, you're always around makeup artists, are you seeing airbrush phase out at this point? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So if,
I think out of, just throw out a random number, out of every 10 makeup artists that I work with side by side, I think there's one
wow.
that'll still have an airbrush machine on them. And
Yeah.
it's got to the point too where, even my fellow makeup artists are like, do you still offer airbrush?
I almost feel like it's almost more of a novelty, right? So like I think clients are coming to you looking for airbrush because it was a thing of the past and it was a big thing of the past, and it was like I want it because it was like kind of like if you were getting your makeup done professionally, airbrush was
Yeah. And I do still, I mean, it's not so much anymore. More so, it's like I said, it's definitely phased out.
Yeah.
But I used to get, when I first stopped offering airbrush, I got a lot of inquiries, or do you offer airbrush? And I would say no. And I would almost have a little bit of a battle, tug of war with the bride,
trying to convince her, sir.
Yeah, or the person who's
Yeah.
hiring for makeup, they wanted airbrush, and I kind of had to be like, well, and explain myself, that it'll still look just as good without it. It will still last just as long without it. And sometimes, I mean, we notice it with, other things now too. It's like when somebody has something in their head and they're not really educated on, in that realm of the world, that they know that, oh, I heard someone say this, and, my friend had this done and this is what worked, for her. And like, they want it.
So that's what I want.
That's what I want. This is what I need. This is what you have to put on me.
So how do you prove yourself to these people? Do you offer them how do you go about doing trials? Are they, do you charge for trials? Are they free trials? Yeah, okay. You charge for
Never not charge for a trial.
Okay, fair.
It's your time, it's your money, it's your product,
right?
And there's no guarantee that they're gonna book with you. So I mean,
yeah, you have to. I understand.
Money.
I understand. If somebody is reluctant to book with you based on the fact that you're not able to provide them with airbrush, but they are still willing to give you a try because you've convinced them that regular makeup can do just as good of a job, if not better, how do you handle that?
So I tell them, I say, hey, come for a trial. It'll get a better look at your skin. I'll get a better idea of your skin. And yeah, I always tell them, as soon as you see the makeup go on and as soon as you wear it, I always tell them after a trial, depending on what time, like if they're, it's for a wedding, I try to do the makeup around the time that their wedding would be, because makeup looks different in other light, different lighting. So I say, oh, well, you're getting married around 5 o'clock. Well, okay, we're going to be done with your makeup at 3, 5 o'clock, like go outside, open up, take a mirror outside, see how your serum looking outside, take a mirror, see how it's going to look in different lighting, and I kind of try to gauge it that way. And I tell them, I said, if you're ready to go to bed tonight and your makeup still hasn't moved, then I've done my job.
Exactly, right. So how far out should somebody book a makeup trial?
So definitely start inquiring with makeup artists, like pretty much as soon as you get engaged. A lot of makeup artists, myself included, we book almost a year out.
Wow.
I actually do have dates well into 2026
Okay.
right now. And you hold your date, and then I usually say do the trial about like 3 to 4 months out from your day.
Okay.
I also do recommend doing trials. Like if you're a bride and you're confident, your makeup artist is going to do a good job, but obviously you still want to try out. Book your trial for like a day that you have an event, an engagement party, or your engagement shoot, or your bridal shower, or even. I mean, I know bachelorette parties have come a long way, but back in the day, you would just go out for a night.
Yeah, right. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you book that day?
Yeah,
So
or
smart.
you just have your honey take you out for like a nice dinner. Because you want to live in the makeup. You want to see how it's photographed. You want to,
Dress it up.
and also you're paying for it, so you might as well get something out of it.
That's what I was gonna say. Like you're already you're paying for it anyway.
And you also want to see it because you're probably going to have like your hair done and you'll probably be in a nice outfit. All of that plays into it. Yeah, because you can have your makeup done, and if your hair's in a messy bun, it's not going to look as good as when your hair's done, or if you're in like if you're in your sweatpants, your makeup's not going to look as good as when you're in like a dress.
Yeah. And vice versa. If you get your hair done and your makeup's not done, you're not going to feel your best self. So that leads me to my next question. Do you recommend that brides book their hair and makeup trials on the same day?
They can. Generally, and like, I mean, if they have something, an event to go to, or something that they're doing that day, yes. I think for the sake of time, it's a long day.
Okay.
I think it's a lot to do in the same day. You're Because at your trial, you're not just sitting down and getting your hair done. You're not just sitting down and like you're talking. You're going over details. You're getting a feel for your makeup artist. Your makeup artist is getting a feel for you. Same thing with your hair. I book 2 to 2.5 hours for my trials.
Wow.
Because I like to chat. I like to get to know my bride. I like to get to know my client. Um, and because for me, it's not just a in and out. Like, I want to do your wedding, but I also want to do your baby shower. I also want to do your, the christening, the first birthday, like you're not just my client for your wedding, or, I did your makeup for, your wedding, but now you're going to your best friend's wedding, or maybe your friend's getting married, like I want to do that wedding too. It's, in my trials is when I really get to get a feel for you, and you get a feel for me, and that's when I start building, that relationship. So I like to set, a good amount of time. I mean, if you want to do your hair and your makeup on the same day, I mean, more power to you. But I just think, weddings itself can be very overwhelming. And brides, if you've ever gotten married, dress shopping, everything can be stressful and it's overwhelming. Do one thing at a time.
Okay.
And do your makeup this day and do your hair the next day. If you're going somewhere and you want to have your hair done too, just go get a blowout and get some curls put in.
Right. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Doesn't have to be the.
Yeah. I don't recommend doing both of them the same day.
It's a lot. Okay. You'll be there all day.
Yeah.
All right. So, Jamie, it's safe to say that people really get the full package with you, right? You're a licensed esthetician, you're a certified makeup artist, and you have a whole lot of experience. One of the best parts about booking with you is that people are not only getting a makeup artist for their event, but they're also getting an esthetician to consult with throughout the process from the time that they meet you to the time that they get married. So, what people can expect from you is not only, hey, I'm booking this girl for my makeup. I now have a personal esthetician who I can go to for all things skincare, wedding prep, etc. Because you're not just a makeup artist and an esthetician either. You work in the bridal world. So these girls are most likely going through this process for the first time in their lives. Maybe it's the second time, but even still, this is like your billionth time going through the wedding process because you are part of all of these girls' weddings. It's what you do basically every single weekend. So girls can literally come to you and be like, hey, I booked you now for makeup and I know that I can come to you for my skincare routine and my facials, but I'm having trouble finding a hairdresser. I'm having trouble finding a photographer. I'm having trouble with all these different parts of planning my wedding. Would it be safe to say that they can use you as a point of contact to help them find other maybe vendors and other professionals and basically help walk them through the process of booking, and preparing for their wedding?
100%. So I have been obviously in this industry for well over a decade now. I've built relationships with photographers, florists, DJs, you name it. I've either worked with you or I've crossed paths with you at some point. So I do have a long list of people that I recommend.
And people that you worked with personally too.
That I worked with
So you could see like firsthand, like how good or not they are.
Yeah, I've worked with people, right? I know who to recommend, who not to recommend.
Right.
Without naming names, just say, oh, stay away from that one, but yeah, and that's also goes, along with, with pricing, and I've seen some artists they've touched on this before, bridal, anything wedding is expensive.
Yeah.
We know it. It's a luxury service. But
Mhm.
when you're, paying, my rate, you're not just getting a makeup artist on the day of your wedding. You're
Right.
getting somebody who's answering your text messages at 11 o'clock at night, trying to coordinate timing, with your photographer and doing the admin and trying to, you know, corral some other makeup artists to come with them because you have a bridal party of 13 people, and trying to work back and, and coordinate and, figure out, where are we getting ready? Can we get into your venue at 6 o'clock in the morning, or do we need to book a hotel? There's a lot of different moving parts that I
Yes.
think that brides initially, when they see a number, they're like, oh my God, that's expensive just for makeup.
Right.
It's not
It's not
just for makeup. You you're getting a concierge service basically with it. I mean, your photographer does, the same things. Like we all kind of do the same, stuff, but it's all moving parts. We're all working together. So, you're also getting that too. You're getting that service along with it.
Right.
So
Yeah, so it's well worth every single dollar because it's not just about the makeup. It's about that they're booking somebody who has experience in that world, outside of makeup, who can act as almost like you said, like a concierge service. You can be that point of contact, especially because let's be honest, like a lot of brides don't book event planners. I know I never had one.
yes.
So I was really on
Some of
my own.
them do.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you a lot of times. I mean, I've even experienced this with my own family members where, for instance, my cousin got engaged. She got married last year. And when she got engaged and I started talking to her, I think I scared her a little bit. So I was like, oh, you got to do this. You got to do this. You got to do this. She was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I'm like,
It's a lot.
okay. I said, listen, I do this every weekend.
Right.
I said, I am at a wedding every weekend, twice a weekend sometimes, I said, it's fine. I said, but I'm here to walk you through it. And so many times I get so many brides that say to me, oh, I had no idea. I had no idea that I had to do this. I had no idea how much, went into that or went into this. And, sometimes it's nice to just kind of be there and be like, it's okay.
Right.
We'll do it together. I'll
Team-
contact this person. I'll get it figured out for you. Or,
Yeah.
there is a lot that goes into it. And a lot of times, and hopefully you're only getting married once.
Mhm.
And when you're a first time bride, you a lot of times you don't know. And especially it's like, you haven't been to a million weddings, you don't know what goes into it. So
Right.
it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of brides that have never even been a bridesmaid before, so they really just don't know what is involved. And you do more than just weddings, you do other events. And so, like you said, when you build a relationship with these clients, you're not just their makeup artist. And I think there's something so special about that. And I really, really appreciate that. So, when people book you, they can go into it confidently knowing that it's money well spent. We're going to do some quick fire questions with you, Jamie. I want to know a couple of things. So tell me, matte or dewy finish?
Ooh. For me, I like a little bit more dewy.
Okay.
For event, matte.
Okay. Liquid or powder foundation?
Liquid all day.
All day.
Yeah.
Okay. Love that. Me too. I'm a liquid foundation girl. Um, Lash extensions or strip lashes?
Strip lashes.
Really?
Especially for event makeup.
Okay.
If you have lash extensions, great, but it is more of a task for me because when I'm putting eyeshadow on, that eyeshadow falls into the lashes, and then I'm there with a spoolie trying to comb.
Right. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I mean, it saves time when you're doing an application. You don't have to sit there and glue lashes on, but I prefer strip lashes.
And you include strip lashes with your services? Okay. What is, if you had to do a 5-minute face, what are the 3 products you're reaching for?
Ooh, a 5-minute phase. I'm gonna reach for my NARS light reflecting foundation. Brow gel. How many?
3.
3. Ooh.
It's tough.
All right. Scratch that. I am doing brow gel, concealer, and mascara.
Brow gel. That far up there. Love that. I don't even use brow gel. I don't even know if that big of a game changer, huh? That is so funny. Okay, tell me, what is your favorite wedding venue that you've ever worked at on Long Island?
Wedding venue. Well, that's a tough one because I've been to so many. I'd have to say between Flower Fields, really pretty, and Bedell Wine Cellar. I think it's in the Hamptons. I'm too sure the general area, but that one, the grounds are just so gorgeous. So,
Sounds beautiful. What is the biggest makeup mistake you see people make all the time?
especially when someone's doing their makeup themselves, they use way too much bronzer on their cheekbones and underneath, and you see it's too dark. It doesn't do your face any justice.
Okay. Okay. What is one of your biggest pet peeves as a makeup artist?
So there's a lot. But yeah, so I have two major ones. Number one is, and I try to avoid this by keeping the mirror away from people, but if there's a mirror close by or if there's a mirror like in front of you, you're the client constantly looking. Makeup is a trust the process type of thing. So it all comes together in the end. So I hate when people are, every time I touch their face, they're picking up the mirror or they're looking in the mirror, and that drives me nuts. And then the second pet peeve is not running on time. Nobody ever wants to go first, but somebody has to go first. And when you are doing, a bridal party, timing is everything. You never want to be rushing out the door, or starting pictures, while, a bunch of girls are still in the chair. So for me, it's timing. I don't care if you don't want to go first. If you're in the room, I need you in my chair. And yeah, timing. People not wanting to go first, or
I didn't even know that was a thing.
yeah.
Well, Jamie, thank you so much for your time today. I loved that we actually got to sit down and go over what you do outside of these walls, because obviously I know you as an esthetician here, and I know you as my salon manager, and I know you as my friend, but I got to learn a lot more about you today, about who you are outside of here as a makeup artist. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
This is great. It was nice to be on the other side of things.
Usually you're sitting behind the desk as a
peanut gallery.
yeah. I love that for us.
Thinking about you and me, baby. Let's try again, maybe.